New England winters were unlike anything else. The cold was damp. It seeped into your very bones, as if determined to freeze everything in its path. In the heart of this frozen landscape stood the Wells Manor. With yellow lights spilling from its grand windows, it whispered of two things: peace and power. Outside, the pine branches were bowing under the weight of the snow. Inside, my soul was doing the same. The house smelled of cinnamon and pine, my mother's signature scent. As the logs crackled in the fireplace, the sound echoed through the high ceilings. I realized it once again. Everything in this house was staged, like a theater set. The arrangement of the sofas, the way the crystal glasses caught the light, the color coordination of our clothes. It all sent a single message to the world: we are perfect. Olivia, why are you still sitting there in that cardigan? Fix yourself up before the guests arrive, my mother said. Her voice carried that familiar, stinging elegance. To my mother, appearance always came before morality. As she glided through the hall in her emerald green dress like a queen, she saw my pale skin and silvery hair, the marks of my albinism, as a genetic mistake to be hidden. I was the only flaw in the Wells family's perfect display case. I'm not coming, Mother, I said, trying to steady the tremor in my voice. Remember? Dad said it would be better if I stayed back and monitored the reports while he presents the Bella app at tonight's gala. My mother paused for a second while refreshing her lipstick in the mirror. Right, it's Bella's big night. She pressed her lips together. She's so excited, we shouldn't distract her. You're being there. She left the sentence hanging. You know, darling, the flashes hurt your eyes. And you wouldn't be comfortable in that crowd anyway. These weren't words of affection. It was a polite way of saying, your ghost-like skin will overshadow your sister's beauty in the photos. Bella was the golden girl of the Wells family. I was just a blurred memory meant to stay in the shadows. When Bella stepped out of her room, the entire atmosphere changed. In her red designer dress, she looked like a goddess straight out of a New York fashion magazine. The moment my father, Elias, saw her, his face lit up with that famous, proud Wells smile. There she is. My pride and joy, he exclaimed, kissing Bella on the cheek. Tonight, the world will see that the Wells name isn't just a titan in real estate. We are the future of technology. Bella tucked her arm into my father's and shot me a mocking look. There was no hate in her eyes, nor love. Only a heavy sense of pity. Don't be sad, Olivia. I'll bring you a box of macarons if there are any left. You finished the final touches in my room, didn't you? I did, Bella, I replied, my voice barely a whisper. The app works perfectly. Of course it worked perfectly. Because I was the one who built it. What Bella presented as writing code was actually thousands of lines of algorithms I had spent sleepless nights constructing. She was simply an expert at wearing success like a crown. That was her only true talent. As the door closed behind them, the eerie silence of the massive mansion collapsed on me like an avalanche. It was Christmas Eve, a night for families to hold each other close. Even looking through the window, I could feel the happiness outside. But I was left like a ghost inside a multi-million-dollar cage. I went down to the kitchen and poured myself a cup of tea. Watching the fire die down in the hearth, I felt something burning inside me. I was the hidden hand paying the bills of this manor. I was the one who wrote the secret software that saved my father's logistics company from bankruptcy, which he then marketed as a masterstroke of management. I was the one who stopped the hack that would have paralyzed my mother's charity, yet in her story, it was a blessing from God. And now, Bella was about to present my months of work, my sleepless nights, as her own victory to the world. I took my tea and went up to my room. It was the smallest room in the house, a cold attic tucked away from any sense of family warmth. I sat at my desk. There stood my computer, old, salvaged parts my family called junk, but assembled by my own hands. As I turned it on, The glow from the screen felt more like a celebration than any gala. I logged into the private platform I had built in secret under the username Aria. In the cyber world, that name was a legend, the untouchable ghost. Aria was the invisible developer that billion-dollar tech giants chased, offering fortunes just to audit their systems. While my family saw me as a simple clerk, I was the queen of the digital realm. The time had come. Bella was about to take the stage. I opened the live stream. She stepped into the spotlight, and I could see my father in the front row, looking like he was walking on air. "Here you are, Aria," I whispered to the screen. My fingers began to move across the keyboard like a piano virtuoso. Entering the Wells family systems was as easy as walking through my own room. I reached the server hosting Bella's presentation. Inside were the creator and copyright sections of the app. Bella had written her name there in bold, capital letters. But in the cyber world, changing a name takes only a few seconds. Just then, my phone vibrated. Mr. Thompson. He was my father's former partner, but unlike my father, he had seen my potential years ago. He was the only one who noticed a tiny error margin in a school project I did when I was 15. Since then, he had mentored me in secret, building digital sanctuaries for me to escape my family's shadow. "Is it time, Olivia?" Thompson asked. His voice was fatherly and reassuring as always. "It's time, Arthur," I said. "Tonight, the Wells empire falls under the weight of the truth. You know there's no turning back once you do this. They are your family. Family is the person who makes you shine, not the one who erases you," I replied. "They erased me, Arthur. Now, I'm showing them who I really am." On the live stream, the host was inviting Bella to the podium. With a microphone in hand and a mask of fake humility, she began to speak. "This journey was so difficult for me," she said. "I spent so many sleepless nights. I designed every single pixel myself." I smiled. It was a painful smile, but a free one. I typed the final command on my keyboard, execute. In that instant, across the massive screens of New York's most luxurious hotel, it wasn't Bella's presentation that appeared. Instead, it was the screen of my old computer from my attic room, lines of code, system logs, and the colossal digital signature proving every stage of the app's development had been done by me, in my room, on my time. Before thousands of people, the truth that the Wells family's golden girl was a colossal lie exploded like an atomic bomb. A message appeared in enormous letters on the screen, created by Olivia Wells, the true Aria. I leaned back in my chair. The New England storm still battered my windows, but I was no longer cold. The winter in my heart had ended. I had shattered the crystal cage they had kept me in for years, with my own hands. The first notification chimed on my phone, a call from my father. I hit the decline button. Then, a message from my mother. I deleted that too. I grabbed my jacket, turned off the last light in my room, and walked downstairs. When I reached the mansion's front door, I paused. What I was leaving behind was not just a house, but a prison. I slowly pulled the door shut. On the street outside, Arthur Thompson's black car was waiting for me. As I walked towards it, each step I took on the snow-covered ground was the first note of my new life. When I got into Arthur's car, my heart was beating like a bird trying to escape its cage. The scent of leather and old books inside the car was a celebration for my lungs after the mansion's suffocating cinnamon aroma. Arthur looked at me in the rearview mirror. His eyes held the proud sparkle he had waited 23 years to see. "You started the storm, Olivia," he said calmly. "Now, sit back and watch the wind scatter them." I opened my tablet. The live broadcast was still on, but the stage was no longer a celebration, it was a wreck. On screen, Bella's famous Wells smile seemed to have melted from her face as if by acid. Whispers rose from every corner of the hall and flashes, this time not of admiration but of scandal, exploded around Bella. My father, Elias, rushed onto the stage, shouting at the technical crew, trying to shut down the screen. But the system was under my control. Dimming the screen was impossible. "This is a mistake. A cyber attack," my father yelled into the microphone. But no one believed him. Because among the documents scrolling across the screen were not just codes, emails from my father telling me to finish these reports immediately or you'll spend Christmas in your room were also displayed in gigantic fonts. My mother Beatrice's perfect facade, so carefully maintained in high society, was shattered. The trembling of her hands as she put her glass down on the table was caught by the camera. The reputation she had dedicated her life to had turned into a digital dust cloud in a single second. "We're going," Arthur said. "We have 2 hours until the Seattle flight. Your new office, your new team, and your new life await you." On the way to the airport, my phone was a battlefield. Messages from Bella now contained not pity, but pure hatred. "You've ruined us in front of the whole world. You're a monster, Olivia. My mother is having a breakdown because of you." Then my father's voicemail dropped. His voice had lost its usual authoritative tone, replaced by desperate fury. "Olivia, stop this disgrace immediately. You will come to the office tomorrow morning and make a statement. You will say this project belongs to the Wells family, do you understand me? Or everything will be over for you." I smiled. "Everything is already over for me, Dad," I whispered into the darkness. "For you, it's just beginning." As we passed through the private terminal at the airport, I felt, for the first time, not like a Wells, but simply Olivia. As the plane ascended from the runway, I looked at the lights of New England below. That massive mansion now looked like a small, cold speck in the snow. The world that had imprisoned me for years was now beneath my feet. 3 months later, on one of those gray and rainy Seattle mornings, I stood in my office on the 40th floor of the city's most modern skyscraper. Unlike the mansion, the office was made entirely of glass and steel. There were no hidden rooms, no dark corners. Everywhere was filled with light. A silver plaque sat on my desk, engraved with Aria tech. I was no longer the shadow name of the cyber world, but the new shining star of the tech industry. In the next room, my team, comprised of the world's most brilliant developers, was working to advance my algorithms. Arthur entered my office with 2 coffees. "Did you see the news?" he asked, placing one of the coffees in front of me. I opened my tablet. Wells Logistics had filed for bankruptcy. Bella's boutique had closed, and my mother was completely ostracized from high society. My father's investors were preparing to file a fraud lawsuit. The only thing that had kept them afloat was the digital infrastructure I had built with my invisible hands, and the moment I withdrew my support, the entire structure had tumbled like a house of cards. "They sent a lawyer to ask for your help," Arthur said. "They're offering to transfer all their shares to you. In return, they want your help to withdraw the lawsuits." I turned to the window, watching the ships in Seattle Bay. "Accept the shares, Arthur," I said in a flat voice. "But tell them I'm selling that mansion and all the properties. All proceeds will go to the foundation I established for the education of albino children and cyber education for marginalized youth." A week later, I was there on the day the mansion was emptied. After all the expensive furniture and paintings were gone, the house looked so small and soulless. My mother, father, and Bella stood at the exit with their suitcases. When they saw me, my father tried to rush towards me, but security guards stopped him. "How could you do this to us?" Bella cried. Her extravagant dresses were gone, replaced by ordinary, cheap clothes. "We're your family." "You weren't my family," I said, walking closer to them. "You were my jailers, exploiting my talent, hiding my existence like a shame. I gave you your freedom. Now you have the freedom to face your own reality." My mother, Beatrice, couldn't look me in the eyes. "Olivia, "We just wanted to protect you," she mumbled. "You wanted to protect the world from me, not me from the world, Mother," I said. "Because you knew that my shining would expose your lies." I turned my back and walked out that door one last time. This time, there was no sound of a lock clicking behind me. Only the infinite emptiness and peace that freedom brings. That evening in my Seattle home, I sat on my balcony. It wasn't Christmas, but the city glowed with thousands of lights. A message arrived from Arthur Thompson. "The first applications for the Aria Foundation came in today, Olivia. There's a little girl with hair as white as yours. Her name is Luna. She wants to meet you." My eyes welled up. This time, not from sadness, but because I was finally someone's hero. I stood before the mirror. I was no longer ashamed of my pale skin or my silver hair. I looked at my violet eyes, reflecting the light. I was no longer a victim. I was a creator. I bit into my Christmas cookie and took a sip of my coffee. Snow was falling outside, but I was no longer cold. Because I had finally emerged from the shadows. I was Olivia Wells, and the world was now painted in my colors.